The Riley and Kimmy Show. Toys, movies, comics, and so much more. The Riley and Kimmy Show. And the more that you listen, the more that you'll know. The Riley and Kimmy Show.
The Riley and Kimmy Show is getting ready for Retro-Rama Pop Culture Collectible Show happening Sunday, February 21st, just hours away in Jacksonville, Florida. And we have a special guest on this show. We have, right now, actress Cindy Morgan, famous from Caddyshack and Tron, joining the Riley and Kimmy Show. Hello, Cindy.
Hi, Patrick. Boy, I'm impressed just listening to the introduction.
Oh.
Thank you for that.
Well, I could have went down that old list of all the TV shows that you've been on. You've done so many.
Oh yeah, I mean, but you get to work with the coolest people on the coolest sets, doing the coolest things. I mean, who would say no to that if you got a shot at it?
Well, I have to ask you this because these questions they're just popping from the head, so bear with me here. I'm not going down the old idiot cards.
They're popping from your head,
yes.
not someone else's head.
Yeah, just mine. Although it might be one of the invisible fat people floating around my head. I have quite a few of those, and they might they might be helping. The Love Boat, was the Love Boat a good experience?
I knew you were going to go there. I knew you were going to go there. You want to know why? Because everybody, I just knew it. The thing is that set really like it seems to be? And the answer is yeah.
Oh, get out of here.
Gorgeous. That's real food, real flowers. Spelling really did it all right. And it was, I knew you were going to go there. Yeah, it's that beautiful, that it was that opulent.
Wow.
It was astonishingly gorgeous, and the production value really showed. It was all real.
So it was a pleasant experience. The reason I ask is,
yeah.
I'm a fan of like Orson Welles, and I remember they were trying to get Orson to go on that and Fantasy Island, I think it was, and he was like, no way. And it was like he was appalled.
Everybody's got their own ideas about how they view themselves and what they do, but yeah. In fact, while I was doing that show, I had lunch in the commissary, and sitting over at a table in a very elegant white coat and a very nice jacket, eating alone, was, the gentleman who was the host of Fantasy Island.
Oh, Ricardo Montalban.
All by himself and looking as elegant as could be. And it's just, yeah, these are fun shows to do. In fact, there have been times when after I'm done with whatever lot I was, whether it was Paramount or Universal or Warner Brothers, if I'm done early, I would, and it was still daylight, I would follow one of the trams around with my car and listen.
Oh, no way.
Because, first of all, I couldn't be on the tram. One of my friends would see me, but I still wanted to know, because a lot of things were shot on set. So it was fun.
Wow. I mean, I can't imagine that. That'd have to be a trip. That'd be sort of like a sunset. Oh, yeah. That'd be sort of like an old Sunset Boulevard moment going around like, they show William Holden's character doing when they're shooting all the things going on at the set. That'd be
but I ended up alive, so I'm okay.
Nobody wants to end up like William Holden's character.
No. But it's really fun because it's supposed to be fun. The more I hated the way agents would say, go to an audition, have fun. I'm like, you have fun. You've got nothing on the line. Ooh. But once you have the job and you're there, if you just go through it, it's awesome. And the more fun you have, the more fun people watching you have.
Now, I was wondering, as a guest on a show, I'm just throwing an example. Matlock. Sure. Matlock is an example. Or Chips or one of the others that you've been on.
All different experiences.
Is there more stress on those sets because they're weekly and they're trying to crank them out than shooting like a movie like Tron or like?
Well, stress comes from different things, and you're talking about the production manager who's trying to get X number of things done. If you're a guest rather than a regular, you don't spend as many hours, and you're only doing it for, usually they were shot in a 7-day schedule, which means 5 days, 1 week, 2 days the next, and the hours are long, and a lot of the stunts you're doing yourself. Mostly the stress will come from who you're working with. The stress, they can make your life a living hell or not, but the actual job is the job. That's what you signed up for. That's fine. That's why you're there. It's fun. Chips was hilarious because I was speeding and chasing. I had a couple of cop friends, in fact, in Illinois. And I told her, I said, yeah, did you see Chips? It was awesome. I mean, did you do this when you were a cop? Chase a speeding car, leap onto it, reach through the sunroof, and wrestle the keys out of the ignition. I did that in an episode of Jim, so it was hilarious. And I'm working with Eric Estrada, Jane. My cousin, beautiful Miss America, Jane Kennedy, was working with me, and Estrada came up to me and said, toward the end of shooting, he goes, "Listen," he says, "Listen, Junior, let me tell you how this is going to go." And I turned around, and Jane Kennedy looked at me and said, "Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it." But, it's always different. And then working, of course, with Andy Griffiths on Matlock, you're working with an icon you grew up with, looking up to. He could have been like a relative. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like that. So it's always, in fact, he had a two-parter written for me, which was amazing, well written, well done. So, there's always stress, but there's good stress and bad stress. And either one brings your performance level up to speed where it has to be.
Did you notice, like, some of the shows that did bring on guests, weekly guests, or did you ever encounter and I don't want to know whom, but did you ever encounter the regulars kind of resenting that because that special guest would get a little more attention that week? Did you see that?
Heck yeah. I was on Falcon Crest for a while, and one particular actress did not like me being there one little bit. And I was only supposed to be there for a 4-episode arc, and I was there for a long time.
Uh-oh.
And I would catch hell in the makeup trailer. In fact, I had a trick that I use to this day, I'll be honest with you. Only then, instead of having an iPod, I had a Walkman, and I would just, and she'd say this and that and the other thing, and I'd take the Walkman and I'd say, "I'm sorry, what did you? I didn't hear you." There was no music. I was just pretending to be deaf. And then I went to a table reading, and the actors were like, it was like high school. There was many producers, actors, and there was no place for me to sit. And Jane Wyman saw this. Not a word was said. She stood up and said, "I will get a chair for Cindy."
Whoa.
And made everybody wait. Came back and said, "Okay, let's go." I loved her. And in the meantime, she would play poker with the crew. She was such a wonderful woman to work with. So there's good and bad, and there you see everything. You see everything. And it's just like human that they're supposed to behave, because a lot of times they're filming. So even more so now.
Wow. I mean, do you still want to go on calls? I mean, now? I mean...
Oh, I don't... Auditions?
Yeah.
No, auditions in Florida?
I didn't know if somebody, do you still, occasionally want to dabble in that, or?
People do have scripts. I mean, I've worked with FSU a couple times. They have wonderful film departments, so it's great to go up there and work with them. To keep your hands in it and to see the new equipment and see new different things. That's kind of important, good to do. And people do offer me an independent film here and there, and I'm lucky enough to pick and choose. But as far as going on calls, I talked to Ruth Buzzy once, who I met at an event, and she said, "You know something?" And she called me Morgan. I love it, Morgan. And she'd say, "You know why I don't go on auditions?" I said, "Why?" She goes, "Because they just call me in the office to say they met me." And she was right. When I worked as a producer, that happened, and it made me want to die for the actor, because it's at a certain point in a person's career, you don't need to bring them in for an audition. You can bring them in for a meeting to make sure they're alive and breathing, but there's really no reason to put them through that. That's the producers, and I'll say it, that's the producers and the casting directors' egos talking, and they really should put those away, because it gets in the way.
Wow. Now, I love your voice, and because voice is my thing, and voiceover work. Are you doing voiceover work? I mean,
I won't. The funniest thing is, when I was in Chicago doing morning drive on the radio station, nobody would hire me to do on camera work because I was the voice on the radio. I get to LA, I can't do any voiceover work because Bruce Boxleitner, who, let me just say, I'd rather have an argument with my cat than Bruce Boxleitner. But he says the most amazing things sometimes. He said, "Well, you can do voice work. You still have a good voice, And I just, I think, at least as my cat, I can call the vet. He can come up with a syringe and a big game fishing net. What do I do with you?" But I just listen. I just go, "Okay, Bruce." That's why we're so good together. To tell you the truth, our chemistry is so good, because half the time I just want to haul off with something. Yeah, but but that's why it works. We grew up 30 miles apart. He looks great. He knows his lines. He shows up on time. He's a hell of a lot faster, and that's a typical chemistry that you find with a lot of people. That's why we're good together.
That's fantastic. I mean,
yeah, once we get off stage, we better go to our own corners. But other than that, and he knows that as well as I do. I mean, I'll start off when we do a panel. The first thing I do, I'll take off my watch and I'll put it on the table. And I'll say loud enough for Bruce to hear. You better shut him up, because if you don't, I will.
Oh, boy.
But see, we know that about each other. There's no hidden agenda. Well, there's no need for it. Well, we know each other better.
One of the things I've seen with you with panels is you actually look like you enjoy it. I mean, it's no secret. I've encountered backstage those who do not want to be doing that panel, and it kind of, even though they're hiding it, it kind of comes across. But you seem to be loving that part.
Yeah, but that's just because I started out in broadcasting, and I went into college at Northern Illinois University with a stammer. I came out in broadcasting. I mean, talk about overachieving. So I like it a lot. I mean, it can be fun. I mean, it can be a lot. Did you see the interview I did? Oh, this was the best interview I did with Bruce. Australia. We get there on some crazy long flight, and we're doing the whole the circuit in a big room, and there's camera on me, and I'm doing an interview, and you hear somebody yelling off camera, and you hear somebody going, "Where were you? I didn't see you on the plane. Where were you?" And the camera pans over, and I walk over and I say, "Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Bruce Bossleitner, who's just gotten up. Bruce, that's the camera. It's rolling over there. Where were you? I didn't." "Bruce, we're on camera right now. And if you take a look, you can see the light on." "Yeah, well," I said hello to you in customs. You kept walking, and so I go, he goes, "Well, go do your interview." And I sat down with the camera still rolling this whole time. And I sit down, and now you hear him yelling, but over from the right side of the camera. And I go to camera. I go, he's still yelling, but there's nobody over there. He's talking.
Oh boy!
So, but you got to play it as it goes. You just, whatever's there. You start out in broadcasting. Whatever is in front of you is how you play it.
Yeah.
If you've been in broadcasting, anything can and will happen.
It will, especially live broadcasting. Any moment, any place. It's called, and some people refer to it as a mission critical job, because you're in that mission critical environment, because anything can happen.
Oh yeah, but sometimes you get bored and you do stuff to make stuff happen. Have you ever done that to anybody?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Because remember the days. I mean, you and I come from the same period of time where we actually played music off turntables.
Sure.
And you might take a rubber band and fire it at that tone arm as your friend is sitting behind the mic.
Now that's a good one. I didn't do that.
Oh yeah. And you watch that tone arm go skipping across the record. That you're loved if you do that.
That is, but you remember how we used to rip wire copy? Copy used to come in long sheets.
Oh yes, that big yellow stuff.
It was my first job, and I was doing the graveyard shift, of course, my first job, and I couldn't break the morning guy. I couldn't get him to break because you always. So I got under the console and I lit the bottom of the wire copy.
Oh no. No,
I got him to break. I got him to Well, he had I mean, it was just a little, but fire. I got it. Yeah, I don't do that anymore.
Well, that's good. But I won't bring any matches around you Sunday. In Jacksonville.
That was a one-time thing, but you did it had to be done.
Now, you mentioned the stammering, and you dealt with that. So obviously, when you went to college, at first you weren't. It wasn't going to be broadcasting. It wasn't radio or TV.
I really think I was put into a speech class because of that.
Oh, really?
Because I don't remember picking that. And I was a terrible speaker, but a good writer. And I remember our first assignment was how to make something. Just anything, how to make something. Just write out a speech on how to. So the class, pretty good sized class of about 60, and I had my nose buried in my copy. But my speech was on the assembly and disassembly of your average squirt gun. And I read it deadpan straight, and the class broke up. They just thought it was the funniest thing I ever heard. Uh-oh. And that was the first time in my life. I was a straight A student, but that was the first time in my life somebody came over and said, you should do this. You're good at this. And I said, really? And they said, oh yeah. And you get into communication. And it was 3 parts at that time. It was speech pathology, and you mentioned your wife works with that.
Yes.
Stammering. The idea behind speech writing, how to approach an audience. What's the best way? Do you find that common ground initially, or do you come in guns barreling, how to approach your speech and how to assemble it. And then the third one was broadcasting, television and radio broadcasting. And I had 3 jobs in college. I had a job at the student television station, student radio station, and the commercial station in DeKalb. I had that's where I changed my name to Morgan, because that's how we were going to fool everybody, because I was the same person on the air in both places doing the news.
Oh my! I knew it was the suburbs, but I didn't know it was DeKalb, like WDEK or
LBK.
LBK, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that quite well. So I didn't realize it was there.
And so resumes, of course, out of deference to my father, I sent out, with pictures, by the way, Cindy Sikorsky, and no bites. Then I sent out identical resumes with identical pictures, and Cindy Morgan got the job. So,
get out of here.
That was it.
Wow. So, I'm just, for the fun part here, I'm curious what inspires sometimes with the broadcast part, or with artists, what inspired them. Was like Larry Lujak at WLS, somebody.
Oh, sure, I remember him. He had a feud with, somebody who's still on the air over
Steve
there.
Dahl. Steve Dahl,
yeah, but he fought with a couple, but that was entertaining. When there's a give and take, and still today on the internet, when there's a give and take with people, it's entertaining. That's what people look for. I can do one thing they can't. And they say, what? I say, I can make mistakes. And therein lies what's interesting. It's that little bit of human nuance, the human feeling, the weaknesses that actually can become strengths. You can't crank that out by computer.
And yeah, the live part with broadcast is unfortunately a dying world with radio.
Is it?
Unfortunately, and
well, they program. I mean, God, remember? I mean, I had 2 turntables. I was the one flipping on the tower center. I have a license, dude. They didn't just give you that. I had to take a test.
You had to take a test, yes.
Yeah. And I pulled my own. I pulled my own music. Read my own news, and of course, and we had a piece of paper in front of us, a wheel like a clock.
That's right.
And at this time was the station ID. This time you played this kind of song. All the lousy songs I pushed back to the next each. And I got into it with my station manager. Well, the station manager was the owner's son, so don't even get me started. But it was back in the 70s, and Beretta was a show that was very popular. And Beretta's bird wanted to come on my morning show. I said, "This is awesome. Let's get this bird on my show." And the station manager said, "Birds can't talk." And I said, of course they can't talk. That means I can do anything I want. This could be hilarious. And he said, "No." So from that day forward, there was an animal segment on my show every single day. Now, the Chicago audience didn't know what I was up to, but they knew I was up to something, because I would start it. And today's animal segment is, and I would just rip anything. I would, the locusts are coming into PO. I would do, and he'd call me into his office every day and go, "Why did you do that?" Blah, 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 blah. "How are my ratings, Terry?" "Good." "Okay, see you tomorrow."
Oh, boy.
So that Lacey Underall character, I guess, came from there.
Yeah. Now, because you did something which, I'd heard stories about this actually in Rockford.
What's that? That I was a smart ass?
No. Actually, there was positive stuff. Trust me, and that's positive too.
I got the oceans mixed up. Now, come on, it was so bad.
You got the oceans mixed up.
I would say whatever. My goal was just to keep talking. It didn't matter, So I would do it, and the director would come down afterwards with a Sharpie and write Atlantic, Pacific, and it goes storming off. And how can you do that? I said, "How are my ratings?" "Good." I think people are tuning in just to see what the heck I'm going to say.
No.
So,
what
made him mad is that I was right. He is now the chief engineer of the Philadelphia Phillies, and we're still in touch. But it still aggravates him that he goes, Morgan, how are you doing this?" I go, just talk.
Well, I was curious here, and I'm gonna ask something about Rockford down, but I'm gonna ask first about the Chicago thing. I'm kind of moving a little forward in the broadcast part. When you finally said it's over because of the incident, you did something that's legendary to broadcasters. you did something many really want to have done a long time ago, and you actually did it. And
he called me on a Saturday. I was making $135 a week doing morning drive in Chicago.
Unbelievable.
At the time, the second largest market in the country. Because of the 360-degree radius, Chicago was the second largest market.
Yes.
So for those who don't know, at the time, all the signals came from a cell tower.
Yes.
Which are the same height, by the way. They haven't changed.
Right.
And there was no internet, so Los Angeles was second because it only had about 180 degrees of a circumference. So,
right.
I was making $135 a week, making bills by doing Saturdays. I get a call on a Saturday from the station. Same guy who told me I couldn't have the bird on. And he said, I'm taking away your overtime and giving it to a man. I said, really?
Oh, boy.
So that was the end of that.
You actually walked off on the air.
So they say.
Is that true?
Kind of. Well, you know.
I'm curious, when that happened, if you did it or didn't do it.
Oh, there wasn't any day.
Okay. When the incident happened, we'll refer to it as the incident. Did you get family and friends going, are you nuts? I mean, did you get that?
My family had no idea what I was doing.
Uh-oh.
None, zero. Well, they never understood how I went from having a stammer to get into broadcasting into the entertainment industry. They had no idea what I was doing. So they weren't involved at all. And you have friends in the business, but they just there wasn't a lot of. I just did what I wanted to do. But listen, it makes me sound like a great big smart ass who was just a loose cannon on deck.
No.
That's not true. I knew about the FCC regulations. I knew about dead air. I know how to cover my ass. Can I say cover my ass?
You can. You just did.
Okay. I mean, but you know, and also be respectful, but within certain bounds. And so it's that pushing the edge of the envelope that made it interesting. But at the same time, you know, it was a wonderful time because taking chances really paid off.
Mm-hmm. I've heard plenty of stories, especially that era. I mean, I started in broadcasting right at that tail end. I started very young as a teenager, and I wouldn't have been able to have done what I did if I hadn't started out in that era where it was still live.
Oh gosh, yeah, because there was right now everything is computerized. Where before there were turntables and boards that I ran myself and music we were playing and I was reading the news and right now there's like 3 or 4 people with computers in front of them, laptops, and there's producers sitting behind them. It's like what are you guys doing? Do you do anything here besides talk? I mean, I don't know about you, but I was doing everything at the same time.
Yes. I mean, exactly. I mean, it's almost a carbon copy right there. I know where you're. I mean, I was 13. I got my FCC license. Went to Chicago. Did the test.
Awesome.
Did the test.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Oh yeah. So I know where. You know, I got my the 3rd class is what I got, and So you know, I know that. And what's funny is a few years later or a year later, they got rid of that. It was like, oh, you don't have.
They got rid of what, the license?
Yeah, they got rid of it. They made it where and now you don't even have to have one. But
you brought in engineers, right?
Yeah, well, no. For a period of time, they did permits. You just filled out a form, sent it, and you got an FCC permit. And then they got rid of the testing, and then it's now, well, you just self-regulate. You don't need that anymore. So
well, I don't think I mean, on that license test, we had to know FCC laws and FAA laws, and if how high the tower is, and what lights are blinking.
Yes,
I mean, all kinds of things.
And if you remember, you also had to do math on it. You had to figure out.
A little bit.
Yes, it was not fun.
Well, you know, once you get that part over with, then you're fine. You just go to work, and Well, no, hardest part was getting up at 5:30 in the morning.
I'm with you. Done morning drive.
In Chicago.
Well, that drive right there. I worked in Chicagoland, the burbs and stuff, not downtown city, but I know what you're talking about. So
yeah, you had to really want to go to work.
Yeah. Now Rockford, which is kind of a burb, it's now more of a burb than it was when you were there, but it's growing into that metroplex. What if I understand the story right? You're like the hardest working person in broadcasting there for a period of time.
I had 2 jobs. I would go to work at the television station from noon until 10:30.
Right.
And I would do the weather at 6 and 10, and I would do the every commercial and the intros to the movies and the local community talk show. And then I'd go to sleep for a couple hours, and I would do a radio shift at WROK from 2 to 6.
Oh, see, now this is beautiful.
Is that what you meant?
Yes, because this is beautiful, because I think you worked with somebody I worked with, and that's Doug McDuff.
That name sounds really familiar.
He was a morning show host for many years at WROK, and he would jump from Rockford to Milwaukee, back to Rockford, and eventually I worked with him. And I just had a feeling. I was like, it had to be ROK she was at, because I was trying to figure.
It was ROK.
Yeah, that's so cool to hear. And so how did you do it? I mean,
I just did it, but the reason I had to stop is because the two station managers, from what I understand, had some sort of thing going on, and the station manager at the TV station's son was up late listening to ROK and heard me on ROK. And the next day, the TV station manager called me in and said, "You have to quit your ROK job." I said, "Why?" And he reached into his desk and pulled out a stack of paper about 6 inches high. And he goes,
"Oh, man.
These are the resumes of the women who want your job."
Oh, my gosh.
I said, "Okay."
Wow.
When I say okay, that usually means I'm going to be up to something very shortly. That's when I started doing reels and sent it out to, I sent out a second reel to SDM, which became FY. Did it become FYR in Chicago?
The Fire. That's right.
No, it became The Loop. The Loop.
Okay. You were at The Loop. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I sent out, I had already gone in and auditioned for them, and they turned me down. But I never bothered to tell people that. I show up again, and they hired me the second. Do you know I was on Falcon Crest twice?
Twice?
I didn't tell anybody. Yeah. Well, they changed out producers. I was on, and I played Lorenzo Lamas' love interest. And a couple of years later, they had a whole new set of producers. They brought me in for a whole different role. And I just didn't tell them I was on the show earlier. And I was in about 3 or 4 shows. And one of the crew members came up to me, one of the guys on the crew, and said, "You were on the show before." I said, "No, I wasn't." He goes, "Yeah, you were. You were on the show before." But by that time, I was already on the show again. So.
All right. So you're a sneaky one. I like this.
Not sneaky. I just like to work.
You're smart.
And if they recognize me, it's like, oh, yeah, I guess I was here.
Well, I don't know why they would have actually been upset, because right in that 60s corridor into the 70s, before, really videotape recording, and of course there was no digital recording, a lot of those shows, the Kojaks and other things, they would use an actor they liked and bring them back in a different role.
I don't remember so much that, because in the 60s I was in school, but and it was in the later 70s and the 80s that I remember. But yeah, they would bring actors back in different roles. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and plus, I think they'd give you. They had to realize. I can't believe they'd be that clueless.
No, they didn't have a clue. Honest to God.
Oh my goodness.
They didn't know. So, and I just didn't tell them.
Now can I move over to a little bit to Caddyshack? I know you've probably been asked 100 billion thousand, quadrillion questions about it, but as Saturday night in Jacksonville, they're going to be showing Caddyshack at a special showing.
I did not know.
Well,
okay.
They are.
Is this the one at Dave & Buster's?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And
okay.
My question for you is, do you watch that movie, and comfortably? Can you watch it, or is it, for me, like if I do an interview, I won't listen to it once it's done. It's in the can. It's made public, or a show I've done.
It's very hard to listen to your own work or watch your own work. Initially, it was nearly impossible. The thing is, I probably will step out for the nude scene, because it's really uncomfortable for the crowd, not just me. Well, except they may be drunk, and then it won't be uncomfortable. But I'm still going to be out of there. But it's kind of fun, because people are very, once people meet you. I had done a couple of these interviews. People are at these screenings. People are incredibly respectful and incredibly, once they talk to you, and they know you're, they know I'm Cindy, not Lacey.
Gotcha.
They're very, very kind about it. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of that scene, I wasn't even going to bring that up, but I'm curious, when you, when this was done, did you warn your family or friends ahead of time? Did you say, when you had, I assume it was in a script, this was going to happen. Did you say, hey, by the way, I'm going to be, filming blah?
I didn't tell people what I was going to be filming when it was done. Oh, there was a massive fight over it. My paid ads and billing were taken away. My contract was broken.
Right.
My agent did not stand up for me. And I was out of the business for a couple of years because I wouldn't let them shoot the nude scene for Playboy. That was not in my contract. And I was the Irish Spring Girl at the time.
Right.
And the night before filming, I said, hey, this looks like a conflict. And I am doing this major soap commercial, which is paying me. I can't do both.
Right.
This wasn't in our original conversation. And I called my agent, and it's in the interview. If you go to my Facebook page, and that's really easy to find, cindymorgan.com, hit the Facebook button. It's like one of the first interviews up there. I called my agent and I said, help me. And my agent said, honey, you're not a doe-eyed girl from the Midwest. Handle it.
Oh, man.
So I came back and fired his ass. But in the meantime, I had to go in and say, this will not happen because this is a conflict. I read my contract. I came in to do a job, and it was a circus. They had people all over the place. They thought this was going to be a big damn circus, and I had a job to do. And luckily, I ran camera and I ran sound, and I knew who belonged there. And John Peters, he said it on the Biography Channel special, so I can use his name. He was in the other room cussing me out, screaming at me. And a lot of the things that people said weren't true. Harold Ramis said I was in tears. You don't cry when you're in front of a predator. That's really stupid. I would never have done that. And Michael O'Keefe said he told the guys to take off their shirts. That would have been creepy and like a porn movie. And so I don't remember that happening either. But I did come out and Peter said, I'm breaking your contract. I'm taking away your paid ads. I'm taking away your billing now. And I said, all right, but now I'm clearing the set. And we're going to get this job done. You want this job done? We're going to get this job done. And I said, everybody get out of here. And I learned a lot of new words that day. But I said, get them out of here. I want to see 4 guys. I want to see, and there was the older cameras. We need a focus puller. That the DP can run camera. I need that actor, and I need Harold. Everybody else get the hell out, or I got all day. Take your time.
Wow.
And they're screaming and yelling, and the sound guy goes, well, I need to be here. I said, I got an FCC license that says you don't.
Whoa.
Get the hell out of here and watch your meters. And in truth, the thing is, they were trying to turn it into something it wasn't.
Gotcha.
And in truth, I had a job to do. It wasn't a game. This wasn't, I'm doing a news feed. Oh, it's so exciting or nerve-wracking. I didn't have time to be. When somebody legitimately corners you, and it's not just personal. This is my job, and this is who I am, and this is important to me. I'm not going to let anybody screw it. It's like if you play sports and you're playing at a higher level, you don't let people screw with the job. This is a job, and it's too important to be foolish. So if people want to be foolish, they can do it on their own time, but there isn't going to be. In fact, the best footage I ever saw of myself is lost. The female assistant editor called me into her room after this was all done. She said, I want you to come here and see something. And it was me from the waist up nude, pointing at camera, going, I will not work until that man puts his camera down.
Whoa.
Speed, roll, action, and I did the scene.
Wow.
And I was never nude because if you make friends with the people who are on your crew, you better damn well do it. Mm-hmm. They wear garments, and the guy from Playboy was there. I had no problem with Playboy. I was actually registered with Playboy as one of their models in Chicago, and Dick Azui, who was one of their photographers, shot some beautiful stuff of me. That wasn't the question. The question was they were bullying me into something that was my job, and it was 1979, and women had just gained the right to choose. That's why I didn't wear a bra, because women didn't wear a bra. Women had just gained the right to choose, and choosing means we also have the right to say no. Mm-hmm. I drew the line. So I didn't work for a couple of years until Disney came calling.
Now I've heard in written or read in written interviews that there was a backlash. You lost the introducing Cindy Morgan credit.
That's right. I lost a lot. Yeah.
I'm curious, and I hope I'm not going in an area that you don't want to go to. Did they adjust that script after that incident? Did they cut scenes or stuff that was already shot?
The script? That script went the way of the buffalo.
Well, did they? The script
was about the caddy.
Well, I knew it was loose, but
no. You don't understand. Nobody followed the script. There was no script. It was 1979. Do you know what was going on the set?
It had a party atmosphere. Okay.
Yeah, and then realize that 4 of the funniest men on the planet, improvisationally trained, Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, Ted Knight, Rodney Dangerfield, rolling through the sets like comic juggernauts, saying whatever the heck popped into their head. And thank God the camera guys and Harold followed the action. The script, the original script was about the caddy. The script meant nothing. I don't even know 50% of the original script. The original story was about a couple of caddies getting a caddy scholarship. It was not about these other guys. And luckily, I went along with the action. I took like 5 minutes of an improvisation. When I got to LA, I took 2 classes. One was comedy improvisation, and one was a scene study class so I could get rid of my disc jockey voice so I didn't talk like this every time I talked. And now, and thank God I had a really good improvisational teacher named Harvey Lembeck who kicked my ass. I mean, I was so sick before every class because he'd go, Morgan, stop going for the joke. You're the straight. Follow the action. Set up the joke. That's where you score. And the thing is, because I was a disc jockey, and as you can tell, they used to doing all the talking, I had to learn to do one thing nobody had ever trained me to do. I had to learn how to listen and follow the action. The scene with Chevy at the piano?
Yes.
Do you think that was in the script?
I know by default it's not. I know that is.
Do you think
brilliant.
that was even discussed ahead of time? No. I was getting my makeup touched up because it was like 120 degrees in there with the giant Klieg lights. And Harold Ramis says, come over here and sit down. I said, now what? We're losing daylight. He goes, come over here and sit down next to Chevy at the piano. I said, why? And he goes, just say, sing me a love song. I said, fine. Now, next time you watch, look at my eyes. And I sit down and I go, sing me, sing. And I'm like, what? I'm like, we're going to do something here. I saw a shot of the tequila. I thought, screw you guys. That is tequila. By the way, it was tequila. I took the tequila. I said, sing me a love song. I took a shot. And I look at him. Now watch my eyes. I look at him, and he snorts the salt, throws the tequila, and launches into I Was Born to Love You. And you can see the exact moment where I register, son of a gun, we're shooting a scene. Uh-oh. Because out of the corner of my right eye, I see the damn camera light on. That's how I found out we were shooting a scene.
Well, that makes it a different world.
So when you say following the script, I'm like, what script?
Well, see, I didn't know if because I read, they took the credit thing, they adjusted the credit, and I was
adjusted my ass. They slaughtered.
Yeah, I was like, they didn't invite you to the screening?
No, it was great. They didn't invite me to the screening, but Doug Kenny took care of that. Doug Kenny found out that I wasn't invited, so he reached into his pockets and bought 2 first-class tickets. And I was in New York, and I walked up to the popcorn counter and where John Peters was standing, my nemesis. I said, John, what are you doing here? Popcorn everywhere. It was so worth it.
Oh, wow.
Believe me, it was. Yeah, and let me tell you, that day I lost everything. I remember it clear as a bell. I walked home to the hotel where they had us all staying, and I went to the bathroom, and I looked myself in the eye, and I went, for the first time in your life, you did the right thing. Had I not, I wouldn't be looking myself in the eye, and it would have cost me more than I could pay.
Oh man, that is so cool to hear. And I'm hoping. Now, I've read and heard from sources that you've working on a book about Caddyshack. You have
the book on the making of the book is going to be a book in and of itself. You have no idea what I'm.
Is it problems because of people not wanting you to talk about stuff or show stuff?
No. That's not the problem at all. Not that. No. It's a million other things that have nothing to do with the writing of the book. So what I am doing, and I had to talk with, I have the rights to 1,700 behind-the-scenes images while we were filming.
Oh my!
Taken by the editor, Bill Carruth, and I had a little chat with Bill, and I said, Bill, you and I own this property technically. And, this has been going on a little too long, and I'm tired of saying my dog ate my homework. I'm going to start releasing pages online, but you're going to write me a little email saying that's okay with you because it's your property. Those pictures belong to you. The words belong to me. So will you write me that email? He goes, yeah. And I still see William. He's a professor up at FSU.
Mm.
And so I'm releasing the pages online. They're online. You can see them on my Facebook page. You go to cindymorgan.com, you'll see them on my Twitter page. A lot of them are on my Facebook page, Instagram. I'm letting them out page by page.
Well, I was wondering if a video documentary could be done with those photos. Do you think
a video documentary was done? The biography channel, all those pictures in the biography channel are the pictures in my book.
Well, see, I don't like that. I want you to be doing the voiceover work with this stuff.
Oh, well, but it's going to be done. I mean, I've got pictures of the 3-story fireball. I've got pictures of them mining the golf course with gasoline. I've got pictures of the gasoline truck pumping gasoline into the ground. I've got one awesome picture that I've got up on the Facebook page. They blew up the golf course, and you see this 3-story. I felt you can feel the impact of the blast, and all 300 actors and extras running toward camera, getting FaceTime. And I went, I was going through 1,700 images over and over and over and over. And I looked at this one image, and I got a really good computer, and I looked in really close. I went, there's one person standing there, not running toward the camera. There's one person standing there just staring at the smoke.
Oh, my.
Who is that? And I look at it. That's me.
Oh, jeez.
I was the only one who wasn't trying to get a camera going, these sons of bitches blew up the goddamn golf course. It's a 3-story fireball. Excuse me. That was a lot of bad words that just came out of my ex-Kappa's full mouth.
You're forgiven. Keep going.
And I'm looking at this thing going, that thing just blew up. And I'm just standing, they're all running. And I've got that picture up there. And I'm like, I didn't give a rat's behind about the camera. I'm like going, and then they say, okay, we're going to need everybody here tomorrow because we're going to blow it up again. And I said, you don't need me. You got hundreds of people here. Nobody see me. They said, no, we need you. And just like when I said to my station manager, okay, no Beretta's bird, or the station or at the TV station, okay, I'll quit my job at ROK. I said, okay, I'll be here. And when I say that, usually something's coming. So I was on the other side of the golf course. Nobody knew, nobody cared. But I've got pictures of the other angle of the explosion where you see tree limbs on fire blowing past camera.
Oh, beautiful.
It was amazing. I got such great pictures. I got one picture, and I went over them with Bill Carruth, and I said, Bill, I got a picture here of camera A and camera B. Now, camera A has a piece of plexiglass in front of it. What's that about? He goes, you never knew where the golf balls were going to land. I said, okay. Camera B's got nothing but a little piece of carpeting. He goes, well, that's all I have for camera B. And these pictures, they tell the story. And the parties, I got pictures of the parties. I mean, somebody's birthday, he stood up and was doing a striptease on one of the tables. And the parties in the beginning were very upbeat. Toward the end, you could see how tired we were getting. And it was really getting to us, and we really wanted to go home. But and I dedicate, and it wasn't ever 1979, and yeah, the parting thing was going on, but in the beginning, I tell the truth. Yeah, this is what happened, and this is what we did. But I dedicate it to Doug Canny, who died of drugs and desolation a month after the film was released. And I say on the first page 1, it's on my Facebook page. I say, history is written for the victors. Congratulations, Doug Canny, your movie's a hit.
Wow.
Because he's the one. There are a couple people who didn't make it. I knew a couple people very closely, very, very closely, who didn't stop, who didn't, somebody said eloquently, and I'm trying to get it actually where it came from, but it was in one of my college yearbooks. The path wasn't written for us, so we found our way. I remember people while I was on the set saying, "Oh, this isn't addictive." The hell it wasn't. It was very bad. And I remember after Doug passed, I think that was a wake up call for a lot of people. So we all, well, not all. That's not true. Most of us stopped.
And even broadcast. I mean, in my world, you
can't get away with that. I smoked a joint once, and it freaked me out. I never did it again.
You'd see those that would be chemically dependent and abuse it, and they'd be one of the most talented people you could ever imagine, and they'd just be destroyed. And well,
that may work once or twice, but it's your body's designed to work by itself, not it just tore people to pieces. I remember the last time I saw Doug. In fact, it was right after the premiere in New York. It was at the party. I think it was in Rockefeller Center downstairs, and he looked really bad. And he was with his mom and dad. And I remember, and I never say stuff like this because it's none of my business. But I said, please take care of him. And that was the last time I saw him. A month later, he was gone. So we did party, but not everybody made it. So just remember that. It was an adolescent time culturally, coming of age.
Sure.
I mean, my God, civil rights and women's liberation and just everything was exploding. And A lot of things were going on, and it was an adolescent time. And as I say in the book, adolescence and coming of age only need to happen once. You don't need to do, I think I also say, don't go home and set your hair on fire. You don't need to do these things. They were done. We lived, and thank God. I remember a couple deal with God nights, and I said, that's it. This is just plain stupid.
What about Jupiter Beach? Does that qualify, the Jupiter Beach experience?
Did you see the Jupiter? Wait, did I put that page up?
I have not. I've read an article that you or interview you did, and you said that you ended up at Jupiter.
Yeah. How'd you meet Bill Murray? That was the night after we shot the first scene was the high dive, which I couldn't do because I'm legally blind, so I had to walk the board blind. I can't dive. I can barely stay afloat. Sure as hell can't dive, and I still had to make that jump. And that night at dinner, Doug Kenny was letting me have it. You didn't do the dive. You didn't do the dive. I said, Doug, I had a month to learn how to do a high dive, and Doug was letting me. And it was like, I don't know, about between the actors and the producers and the various people, there were like, 30 people at the table. Some actor came in who was new. When I knew I was shooting this film, I didn't look up any of the actors. I didn't want to know who I was working with because didn't want that to get in my way. And some new actor came in and whatever. And I was busy getting yelled at by Doug. And I went back to my room and I felt really bad. About 15 minutes later, there was a knock at my door. And it was the actor who had just come in. and pretty much he said, "You want to get out of here?" I said, "Yeah." And I woke up the next morning on a nude beach in Jupiter, Florida. That was Bill Murray.
Now it's left out of the article, but did he leave you there? I mean, or at least
what do you think?
I just kind of curious. I mean, I didn't want to tread.
I don't think I need to go into detail.
Okay. So you weren't walking back.
I think I've said enough.
You weren't walking back from Jupiter Beach. That's all. Okay. I just. All right, we won't go there. Okay.
I can let your 14-year-old mind fill in the blanks.
I'm not a 14-year-old mind kind of person. I'm okay.
Oh, all men are 14 years old at a certain point.
No, you met one. You met one who's not. I guarantee you, not 14. Maybe 16.
Yeah. Okay. I'm
kidding you.
But I think I've said enough.
Okay.
Right there.
Now, out of like Tron and out of Caddyshack and any TV show you've done, do you have any props, scripts from those experiences? Did you walk off with anything?
Oh, Disney? Are you kidding? They call it the Disney Vault for a reason. That was a whole different filming experience. I've seen somebody has a couple of my costumes, which I find kind of eerie when they bring it up for me to sign. A little creepy.
They actually they had the costume.
Oh yeah. That's odd. But first of all, Caddyshack was so flying by the seat of your pants. Nobody really. Let me explain how it worked. It wasn't a question of call sheets and you were shooting a certain scene. You would come home from whatever party you were at or roll out of bed and go through hair, makeup, and wardrobe and just go outside and see what was going on.
Oh, wow.
And if you were in the scene, you were getting shot. And if you weren't, you weren't. So it wasn't like we hung on to stuff. It wasn't that kind of a plan. In fact, I remember the mother of all wrap parties at the end of it. Oh my God. I remember, I better stay up because the Teamsters are going to be here to drive us to the airport any second. Went home, packed up everything. I brought my cockatiel to the set, so I had to get her in the packet, in the right little carrier. And Lois Kibbe, who played Mrs. Judge Smale's wife, she looked at me and said, because I made them wait like 10 minutes for me to get out there. She goes, "I will never work with an ingenue again."
Oh, jeez.
She was awesome. She really was that lady.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was. We all evolved into versions of our characters at some point during the filming, which helped considering the amount of improvisation.
I can imagine in that case. Now I understand that Ted Knight was kind of freaking out that you guys went off script. Is that true? I mean,
well, in the beginning, Ted was amazing and he was kind of like my Polish uncle. He found out I was Polish, and he said, "Well, and he used that. That was his real voice. "Well, Cindy, this is how things are done here," and he's talking to me, and and we, he was just very warm, and as things went along and people were showing up late and things weren't happening, and one of the last things we shot were when the anchor went through Ted Knight's boat.
Right.
And that was towards the end of filming. Everybody was tired, and we had been up at, again, one of the mother of all rap parties the night before. And I was in my dressing room where I was supposed to be, the mobile dressing room where I was supposed to be. And they called me to come out and shoot, and I came out, and Ted lays into me going, "Where were you? We were all looking for you." And I said, "Ted, I was in the room with the door with my name on it. That's where I was. They didn't look there." He was mad about us going off. Well, yeah, he was mad about us going off script. He was mad about us being late. He was mad about all the. Rodney was supposed to have just like a cameo, just like show up, but Rodney would just start. Well, Rodney had more fun than any of us on set, if you understand what I'm saying. Well, not he was a bigger partier. He was a seasoned partier, and he would just roll it up through the scene, saying whatever the hell popped into his head. Like, so, seriously. And there's Ted hanging on the script going, I got lines. And it didn't matter because camera followed action.
Right.
And he was legitimately angry, which really worked for his character, but probably not for him personally.
Okay. So he probably wasn't having a great old time when the film was actually done. You guys had your final rap party and everything. I mean, I doubt.
Ted was furious.
Yeah.
Ted, and oddly enough, Doug passed a month after the film was released, and nobody knows what really happened. Harold Ramis famously said he, you know the story. He was in Hawaii and he said he slipped while looking for a place to jump. He really knows what happened. But shortly after that, Ted passed. Just a couple of years after that was. So. A lot of high blood pressure there. Great guy, very professional, took it very seriously. Unfortunately, nobody else did.
Wow. Well, I'm gonna ask one question. Probably I would imagine it has to revolve around Caddyshack, not Tron. Maybe, well, I don't know. Nerds are interesting, and because you mentioned somebody, you mentioned somebody bringing, the costume. What is the strangest or most unique thing somebody's asked you to sign, to autograph?
Oh gosh. People have the arcades from Tron. They have the full thing, but they just bring the glass pieces for me to sign. Probably one of the coolest pictures I've ever signed is somebody brought in a picture and said, a Caddyshack picture. And he said, "Would you sign this to my father, my son, and myself?" And that sort of tells you what Lacey is. She's sort of like this character that just exists. I mean, it's sort of cool to see it still airing all the time. Caddyshack doesn't seem to be dated. You can see it, and people. It's like a song on the radio, where people. I can't watch it because for me it's like watching family movies about my relatives behaving very, very badly. But for it's like a song on the radio that makes you happy. It's on every 5 minutes, and it's very cool.
That is so cool. I mean, I can't imagine that feeling. You're immortalized. I mean, that's got to be a real cool.
I can't wrap my brain around that. I just accept it for what it is. I'm very, very grateful because I've known better actors. I've known actors with better connections, more talent and better looking. And I got lucky with two films that are very different.
Yeah, I mean those are like polar opposites right there. I mean,
people are still to this day. People are just still going. Somebody just posted it yesterday. I just realized that was you in Caddyshack and Tron. Most people don't know. Well, come on, Lacey and Yuri couldn't be more apart.
Yeah, and they're totally, and actually you're two different people in Tron. I mean, theoretically, so yeah, I mean, totally, they had totally different worlds.
Yep. Oh yeah. Oh geez. I mean, with Disney, that was like 180-degree opposite. We were shooting on the Disney lot. Everything was extremely tightly choreographed. Right down to the line. I mean, because it was shot in black and white, and because it was the first CGI movie ever made, we had to hit a mark dead on spot without there being a mark there, because you couldn't look down, you couldn't have a mark. So there was a little trick of backing up into it at a running pace, just so you could hit exactly that mark and say exactly that line that made absolutely no sense to anybody else except for the writer, and it was a rough go. incredibly good actors. I mean, my God, David Warner, when he told me I was gonna die, no acting required. I believed him. And Barnard Hughes was amazingly awesome to work with. I mean, just really, really good people to work with. So how could that go wrong?
Well, I know you got to get going here because you're getting ready for Jacksonville. But
Correct.
I just got to ask you one more question. I'm kind of curious. I know you started doing the appearances with Fiat a long time ago, but what was the first actual like pop culture comic book convention you ever did? And what changes? Philadelphia. Okay.
And it was something. My webmaster, the guy who's been Scott Skirchuk, who's been my webmaster for 15 years, started my first sites. And he said, you should come here and sign autographs. And I said, who'd want my autograph? That's just plain silly. And he goes, no, you got to do this. Come on over here and sign. I went, oh, geez. And I just felt, could you imagine somebody saying, yeah, come to my party and sign autographs? I feel like, get out of here, goofy. But people actually, I remember it. And it was just I was baffled. I mean, it's to tell you the truth, it's still baffling to me today. The fact that Caddyshack ever got made was a damn miracle, because everything that could possibly go wrong did, but it came together brilliantly. A lot of that due to Bill Carruth and John Dykstra, who did a lot of the special effects, and the incredibly talented actors. And Tron came together because of the fans. It did not do well at the box office. A lot of reasons being Wall Street Journal gave it a bad review. Promotion was pulled. Disney stock dipped a bit. I mean, a lot of things happened, so the promotion was pulled. And there are a million reasons. Or people just didn't get it. It was very stylized. But the people, the fans who fell in love with that film, just fell in love with it. When they come up and talk to me, when you see it in their eyes, they mean it. Mm-hmm. And those are the people who kept it alive. And so for that reason, both of these films are still alive today.
Well,
and I'm happy to meet them, and I get to do that this weekend in Jacksonville. If I get lucky, I'll go get to see the fort too. But I don't think I'll have a lot of time on my hands.
Well, you're going to have a fun time. I mean, I know the Saturday night event is going to be very special with you,
cool.
and the Sunday event.
Yep.
I can speak on behalf of Retrorama because we have been invited there so many times. We love it. We will not miss it.
Let's talk a little bit really quickly about that. That's Retrorama. That's this Sunday.
Right.
It's from 10 to 4. Early birds come in at 9. I got that. Do you know the venue? You got the venue in front of you? I can look it up.
Sure. It's going to be the Ramada Conference Center, and it's located in it's actually outside of Jacksonville. It's right off I-95. Very easy to find.
Good.
And
good.
Thank you. Mandarin is the name of the city it's actually in, but it's part of that suburban Jacksonville corridor, but it's very easy to find. GPS can find it for anybody. I mean, it's never failed us. It's really easy. I mean, it's
not my GPS. You have no idea where it's taking me. But go ahead.
Okay, but you're not going to end up in Washington D.C. No, it's really it's right off I-95. I mean, you'll spot it right there. It's like a 5-star hotel actually that it's in.
Wow.
And it's nice. I mean, it's a venue we really look forward to going to, because I'll have people say to me, "You're going all the way up to Jacksonville?" I go, "Yeah."
Well, it's going to be great. I mean, I put it. I've got all the latest photos I get photos all the time when I go to these shows. People will bring me something or make me something. For example, the black and whites up on my site for sale. Somebody handed me these literally last May. 10 contact sheets from the cut scene of Chevy and I at the end of the movie, handed these to me and made them, hand corrected them and blew them up by 8x10. I'm bringing those. I've got those printed for the show. Brand new stuff that's never before been even out anywhere. I mean, and so I'm gonna have it all with me, because that's kind of one of the things you got to do. Bring stuff that's never been seen before.
And if somebody has their Tron costume, be sure to bring it to be signed.
And I'm going to have somebody follow them. You mean their own Tron?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. I see what you're headed. Okay. Good.
If they have their own Tron costume they've made, you bring it. So
bring it along, and because that's great for pictures. So let's do that, and make sure you come up and say hello.
Well, I definitely will. And
will you be there?
I am emceeing the event with Kimmy.
No way.
I'm doing video interviews there. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then we'll see you there. Good lighting, I hope. Watch the lighting.
It'll all.
You know how I am about lighting. I'll bring my own damn lighting if you don't have it.
You might be mean to me. I better watch out.
I can make a shiny board out of anything, so don't worry about it.
I'm just being trying to be funny here. I know everything will go well. I'm really looking forward to meeting you, not just because of Tron, because of the Caddyshack and other material, but actually because of just people I know that we've kind of circled around with, and for years I've heard things, and it's like, she sounds really cool. And
yeah, it sounds like I've been up to no good most of the time, though. Now that you tell me these stories, I'm like, geez, did I do that too? Maybe I did. I don't know.
Uh-oh.
Okay, but anyway, yeah, thank you so much. I've talked your ear off for like an hour. My workout, I have no excuses for being late for, so I'm going to be on my way to that. But thank you for the interview. This was fun.
Thank you, Cindy, and we'll put links to your website right on our website, RileyandKimmy.com.
Please do. And I'll see you on Sunday.
Visit RileyandKimmy.com to connect on social media and for archive podcasts.